And you know what I wish the most when it comes to the Grease Wizard or any other YouTubers like him? I wish for just once that some YouTuber, whether it be a guy or a girl, from any part of the world, as long as they speak English, that they would make a video about me, but in a positive light. Paint me in a positive way. Talk about me in ways that would make me feel better about myself, that would make me feel good and have a sense of pride, even if it's just a little bit.
It turned into me pretty much telling him I'm sleeping with whomever I want and you're just going to sit in the corner and watch.
Today I will be talking about why I'll always be an incel. And I want to start off by stating the obvious fact here that I hate attractive women. I do.
A majority of American men who die by have no known history of mental health problems because they don't talk about them.
And people are saying I should be embarrassed because I went home alone when there was a hot girl there. And that because she's a 10 and I'm a guy, that I didn't have the right to leave.
And when they do try to talk about them, they get attacked.
He helped me get my GED, and I got my GED.
That's the thing, like, women get away with this stuff. You're a pretty girl, that's why you get away with it.
I've watched and seen so many countless videos, street interviews of women, real life women in real life, not online, not on the internet, real life women.
What is the most popular reason people get married?
Money.
Financial reasons, because they're 30 and desperate.
I'd say love.
So of course you're gonna get the people who are like the least equipped to answer these questions if you're interviewing drunk people at night in Vegas.
Incels. 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 Incel. Incel.
They're shy because they don't know if they're going to be Me Too'd if they approach the wrong girl. There is a YouTuber that just came out where he approached a girl in public, and she literally called the park police on him.
This dude offers front of the line passes for the inconvenience. Get out of here. It's not an inconvenience. You accused us of a felony.
So now you don't even know whether to approach a woman or not because you don't know whether she's going to say that you're harassing her.
What if I told the internet you tried to kill me?
Did I try to kill you?
Mm-hmm.
Did I try to kill you?
No.
You give an ugly guy a chance, he thinks he rules the world.
But what if I did, like, actually start lying and saying the most horrible things?
Whether they're really attractive women, average-looking women, or ugly-looking women, and no matter what race they are, they're abused, both physically, emotionally, verbally, and yet they'll still tend to go for those same exact men.
You guys been in love before?
Excuse me?
Have you been in love?
We're in love now.
And honestly, I don't feel bad or sorry or pity or have any sympathy or empathy or compassion or anything like that towards women who keep making that same mistake over and over and over and over and over again.
It's very difficult to understand how demoralized people are. And certainly many young men are in that category.
And Dakota, how does that sit with you?
I like it. I enjoy it.
You enjoy it? So what does this look like? I mean,
all these men who are alienated, it's like they're lonesome and they don't know what to do, and everyone piles abuse on them.
Pretty much always incels fail. They're losers. They're pathetic, worthless, pitiful lowlifes, just as I am myself.
Marshall Mathers IV is a complex individual. Before we begin, it's important to establish a few things. First, the purpose and intention of this video. This is not an attempt to excuse misogyny, but rather a look at the societal factors which led to the creation of communities of incels. Second of all, the definition and usage of the word incel. Incel stands for involuntary celibate. However, the word is being used in different contexts more and more. Some will use it as a general insult towards people who have a more traditional view of relationships. There are also those who call themselves incels as part of a community. And as you might imagine, it's not the most optimistic of communities. And finally, bias. Personally, I've had some committed relationships as well as a few casual encounters. Currently, I'm single and focusing on improving my financial position before settling down. I'm not really a fan of manosphere content, but I do like Abba and Preach. I feel like they have a more balanced approach to topics that are often covered in the manosphere, being openly critical of channels like Fresh and Fit. Lastly, you may recall Marshall mentioning the Grease Wizard at the beginning of the video. The Grease Wizard makes content on lolcows, and that's how I found out about Marshall. While I'm certainly a fan of the Grease Wizard, I figured I would try a different approach here.
But you know what? I'm a harmless person. The only people who I've ever been violent towards are my family. And the only violent thing I've ever done in my life is sibling rivalry, which is pretty normal and pretty much in every household where there are siblings. I would never do any acts of violence against anyone. And you know what? I don't have guns. But most of you will probably not even believe that. Well, I don't.
This is a great example of why I chose Marshall for the subject of this video. He's non-violent and also open and honest enough to mention a conflict from his childhood. The stereotype of incels being violent is quite common, which is probably the reason why he feels the need to clarify this. While there are statistics and evidence that support this stereotype, it's odd to me that this stereotype seems to take precedent over others. What I mean by that is stereotypes are usually reserved for comedic speculation. Even when they revolve around criminality and violence, news sources are very apprehensive to include stereotyping as part of their reporting these days. And with good reason, although that apprehension doesn't seem to exist regarding incels.
There's a lot of incels who've carried out literal attacks on people.
Networks like the Young Turks will use this stereotype with reckless abandon, without taking into account the potential negative impact of this approach. It's beyond childish to accuse large groups of people of such vile criminality. There is a massive difference between somebody being misguided and somebody being malicious. It doesn't help anybody to accuse non-violent people of non-existent violence. That's not to say violence doesn't exist, it does, but I can assure you it's not the non-violent people who are causing violence. Profiling hasn't really had the best of results in our country, but hey, we gotta have something to be afraid of. For somebody like Marshall, I could see how this reporting would seem to only serve the purpose of pushing him further away.
And it annoys me that so many blue-pilled men come on my channel and annoy the shit out of me with telling me just flat-out things like, women are humans just like men, and women are good, and you don't know all women, and just really dumb bull that just irritates me like crazy. Because you know what? I don't need to know all women. I don't even need to know most to know that the nature of women, of females, is pure evil. It really is. Their instincts, their nature is just almost always prone to be wicked and deceitful and immoral.
Alright, so here's the crux of the matter, animosity. I think we're all familiar with anger, but when it's this generalized, it's a problem. Not to mention, women aren't the only group of people that he has a negative perspective of.
When it comes to being a normal guy, normal men don't have to put up with or deal with or have to just suffer emotionally and mentally like hell when having pressure and expectation put on themselves by society. Because if you are already a normal man, that pressure and expectation is only going to do one thing for you. It's going to benefit you. It's going to help you. It's going to push you to the point to want to succeed in your life, to want to be motivated, to want to be driven, to want to achieve just superstardom in your life, whatever path you choose to take to get there. Like, if you're a normal guy, that pressure and expectation does not affect you one bit. It doesn't. And it never has, and it never will. But when it comes to us incels, when we have to deal with and put up with and accept and have to go through and experience the pressure and expectation put on ourselves as a very specific group of men, it's hell for us. It's literal torture for us, emotionally and mentally.
It's important to realize it's not just incels who suffer from these societal pressures. As far as I can tell, the struggle to find purpose is harder for just about everybody right now. Many people have successfully maintained the image of having a sustainable life, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily the case in reality. And beyond that, many people are good at instigating unsavory responses. I understand it's hard to ignore these people, especially if you grew up feeling like you had to resort to defensive behavior. The dark reality of the situation is, a lot of people don't want you to get better. Too many people are easily amused by their own disgust. That goes for Marshall and the people who make fun of him. Whether you like it or not, blunt criticism is a rather human thing. Instead of demanding us all to dull our edges, I think it's better to get thicker skin. And not through ignorance. Speaking is only one half of a conversation. It's important to listen.
And today I will be talking about blue-pilled incels. And you know, what's interesting about incels is the fact that there's obviously different varieties of incels, or different kinds or types of incels. Like, there are definitely, and of course, black-pilled incels, which I'm one of them. I'm a perfect example of who and what a black-pilled incel would be and look like, sound like, and etc. But there are also blue-pilled incels. And hell, there are even red-pilled incels.
Well, I didn't realize there was a trichotomy of incels.
But this video is just mainly and specifically about blue-pilled incels. Like, a lot of blue-pilled incels will say stupid like, you know, I'm an incel, or I'm a virgin, or whatever, and they'll say also their age. Obviously they're anonymous, and then they'll go on to say things like, you know, there's nothing wrong with being a virgin. There's nothing wrong with being an incel. The only time it becomes a problem is when men blame women for why they're incels, or when men hate women because of the fact that they're incels. And I think that is so ridiculous. Like, honest to God, because here's the thing. Is it incels' fault? I mean, tell me this honestly, and tell me the truth. Is it incels' fault that hundreds, if not thousands of women reject them on a daily basis, whether that be in real life or online?
First, let's answer that question. Is it the incel's fault if he gets rejected? Well, yes, at least partially, and that's a good thing. When you get rejected, you are one half of that equation. Yes, sometimes women will have a faulty perception of men, but realistically, the only way to improve your chances is to improve yourself. Work hard and try your best to put yourself in a situation where other people's perception of you isn't going to influence your happiness. Also, I find it interesting there are people out there who self-identify as incels and oppose misogyny. When people like Noah Sampson or Hassan Piker use the word incel interchangeably with misogyny, they're just stigmatizing an already misunderstood situation. I would have more respect for them if they weren't so desperately trying to maintain some imaginary moral high ground and just admit they want to make fun of people like the rest of us. If you want to brand yourself as the more noble cause, you're going to have to do better than ridicule and complete disregard.
I'm just like so bad at this. You know what I mean?
As high.
Continue doing propaganda.
Women will tell me, when they'll have the audacity to tell me that women don't hate shy men. And that is a load of bull. Literally. Because I've watched and seen so many countless videos, street interviews of women, real life women in real life, not online, not on the internet, real life women, about what they feel or think about shy men. Pretty much every single one of them, except maybe like one or two or a few here and there sprinkled in, but the vast majority of, well, anyways, they're saying that in regards to really handsome shy men. Like, if I myself had Chad looks, just top tier, top of the line, top notch, handsome, good looking, attractive looks, as far as being a man goes, even me being shy, even me being a complete and total, I would still score big time with just about any women that I wanted to be with. I'd be a player.
I think there's a difference between being shy and being awkward. In today's social climate, it's not unreasonable for women to see an awkward interaction as a man being uncomfortable with women in general, and in Marshall's case, he is uncomfortable given his animosity towards women. Women can pick up on that general sense of unease and start to feel it too. I can't really imagine the amount of devotion and energy this amount of hatred for this many people can take. What I can say is, Marshall, that energy is better spent doing just about anything else. One thing you could do to make it easier for other YouTubers to paint you in a more positive light is to be a more positive person. And while those street interviews are entertaining, they're not a great source of information and you shouldn't be basing your opinions off them. Plus, most of the time, both the interviewer and the people being interviewed are not the kind of people you want influencing your view of the world. This is YouTube. Take everything you see here with a grain of salt.
And Chad looks is the following, being like a really perfect jawline, definitely tall, like 6 foot tall or even taller than that, ripped, six-pack, or at least slim.
Marshall, you're not a bad-looking guy. You actually look quite a bit like me. And there are definitely guys who look worse than you who are with attractive women. I can just about guarantee most of your mishaps in romance have to do with your attitude. Although, once again, this is a good thing. I would recommend picking up something like exercise or some kind of online study that would have easily accessible tutorials. Then try to find a public group for that activity, like on Facebook or Discord. Don't overshare, don't make any advances, and don't try to make the conversation about you. Stay specifically on the topic that group was made for. Talking about how you perceive yourself or you in the context of you will make you seem very selfish. It's far easier for people to relate to you through activity. These more casual and positive encounters will get you more comfortable with women. Now, I'm not telling you what to do, Marshall, but this is just a recommendation. You should consider looking into communication and public speaking. You have a good vocabulary, you're honest, and you speak clearly. And while you need to work on being brief and concise, I could see you as a more motivational figure. It takes hard work to break bad habits. I believe Marshall has the capacity to make a positive impact on society if he really tries. But all that energy needs to be spent on something other than constant resentment. Holding on to that resentment will only continue to prevent your ability to grow. It's just a battle that's not worth anybody's time.
You know, the more I think about women, the more angry and pissed off and bitter and hostile and vengeful and hateful and jealous and envious and whatnot I become. But I couldn't have any of them. You know why? Because I'm shy of attractive women. I'm uncomfortable and uneasy around attractive girls. I don't have the confidence, the balls, the courage, the self-esteem to just walk up to any banging hot girl and just tell her how pretty she is, because I'm shy of attractive women. I'm timid around attractive women. I'm uncomfortable and uneasy around attractive women.
Although the responsibility of this resentment falls squarely on Marshall, it's often the same people who complain about echo chambers who make the exclusionary environment required for echo chambers to thrive. It's easy to point to just about anything in society and find something wrong with it. The real task is to make improvements, not on paper, but in practice. That goes for each and every one of us. Before wrapping up, let's touch on one more thing.
They're shy because they don't know if they're going to be Me Too'd if they approach the wrong girl. No, seriously.
To the girl who said, nah, the fear of fabricated allegations is real, and it does have an impact on our decisions. That'll do it for this one. Shout out to the best subscriber squad in all of YouTube. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Are you looking for a one-of-a-kind way to support the channel? Are you looking for a speculative investment to offset inflation? You should consider buying a painting. Exclusive, rare, one-of-a-kind, unique item drop. Prove ownership through the technology of existence. If stolen, you have legal recourse. Incredible! As more people buy paintings and the channel grows, the value of the paintings will grow as well. So buy it now. Buy it now. Link in the description.
And I've got a stack at home of things I could say and places I could go to give my opinion or what I think or whatever. I'm trying to give you a chance.